This is author C.R. Stewart. Enjoy listening to Britfield and the Lost Crown, a fast-paced, exciting adventure that will transport you from the smoldering crags of Yorkshire through the heart of England and finally to the magnificent shores of Dover. One of the most awarded books in fiction, Britfield is about family, friendship, and courage. This presentation is in partnership with We the Kids, a national organization that has inspired hundreds of children by involving them and their parents in exciting radio, TV, and on-site projects.
It's a frosty December morning at Weatherly Orphanage, located in Yorkshire, northern England, about 300 miles north of London. The main building is an enormous Elizabethan castle enclosed by a high stone wall with an iron gate at the entrance.
15 years ago, the property was purchased by Mr. and Mrs. Grieves, who turned it into an orphanage. Although they were supposed to provide healthy food, new clothing, and schooling for the orphans, the despicable Grieveses keep the government money for themselves.
Every morning at 6 a.m., the orphans walk into the walk area known as the factory, where the girls make wicker baskets and the boys make wooden chairs. These objects are sold in local villages so the Grieveses can make additional money.
Speckle, the new supervisor, arrived 9 months ago. A tyrant, he manages the facility along with Brewster and Sludge, feeble-minded bullies, who follow his every command. The orphans fear Speckle's strengths and do what they can to exploit his weaknesses.
Tom, Sarah, and many other orphans, all dressed in gray outfits, sit around the workshop. The girls are weaving wicker baskets and the boys are building small tables. As Tom whispers to Sarah across the room, Speckle slams his cane stick on the desk.
Number 47, stop chattering at 34 and get back to work.
Yes, Mr. Speckle. Back to work. Right away, sir.
One more word out of you and I'll send you outside.
Speckle sits at his desk and types on his laptop. Tom looks at Sarah, who makes a silly face, and he snickers. Seeing this, Speckle marches over. The entire room goes motionless.
Is something funny?
No, sir. Nothing.
Would standing outside in the cold for 5 hours be funny?
No, it wouldn't.
Speckle lowers his gaze, examining Tom. Unconvinced, Speckle grabs Tom's arm, yanks him from his chair, and drags him outside. The door slams behind them.
Don't move.
Shivering in the cold, Tom nods resentfully. Speckle marches back inside and glares at the children. Hovering around their workstations, Speckle picks up an item, inspects it, then tosses it back down. Peering in from the window, Tom stands motionless.
12 years old. I've been an orphan my entire life and locked up at Weatherly for 6 miserable years. It seems like everything I do violates the Weatherly rulebook. Talking, laughing, and even breathing too loudly. Well, some rules are made to be broken. It's our only way to survive here. We do what we're told and get away with what we can. But I'm done with it. This year, I plan to escape.
The next morning, Tom stands in Mr. Grieves' office. Mr. Grieves, sporting a riding coat and tall black boots, struts into the room. Mrs. Grieves, wearing a black outfit with her hair compressed into a bun, closely watches as Speckle remains by the door.
I heard about your incident in the workshop yesterday, and someone was in my house last night. I want to know who it was.
What do you mean, sir?
Don't play dumb with us, number 47. We know things go on behind our back. What are you kids up to?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Mr. Grieves paces the room, trying to frighten Tom with a menacing glare. Tom looks away, fidgeting with his hands.
I heard noises in my house last night, and a book is missing from my library.
I have no idea.
There's more. Just the other day, I confiscated an illegal pencil from number 11. I also found an apple core in one of the trash cans. Fruit is forbidden at Weatherly, so how did it get there?
Uncooperative, Tom remains still. Frustrated, Mr. Grieves pulls out a file and browses the pages.
We have all your information. Know everything about you.
Mr. Grieves glances at Tom for a reaction, but finds nothing.
Been here for 6 years. 34 infractions, talked back to an authority 18 times, solitude in the attic 9 times, locked in the cellar 4 times, caught with a piece of cheese resulting in kitchen duty for a month.
You never did tell us where you got that cheese. Did it just magically appear?
Found outside twice. And it seems that your best friend is Sarah, also 12 years old.
Trying to appear unfazed, Tom continues to stare at a random object. Mr. Grieves shuffles through the pages.
It says you're from southern England. You spent time at 3 orphanages before arriving at Weatherly. That's interesting. Most interesting.
What's that, sir?
Tell him!
It says your parents might still be alive. Has only one name. Britfield.
My parents are alive? Do you know where they are? Are they okay? Do they know I'm here?
Ah, I see I have your attention. I'll tell you what, Tom. I'll make a deal with you. I want to know everything that goes on at Weatherly. All the orphan secrets. What you rotten kids do when we're not around. Who's to blame? Who do you get things from? Where do you hide them? You tell me this, and perhaps I can help you.
How long have you known about my parents?
Watch your tone, number 47.
We're going to give you 2 days to gather all the information. We want everyone turned in. If you don't, you can forget about finding your parents. And we'll make sure that your next 6 years at Weatherly are a living nightmare.
Worse than now?
Much worse.
Later that day, the orphans march through a hallway to the dining hall when Sarah approaches Tom.
Where have you been? Did you get caught sneaking out last night? I heard you were pulled into an interrogation room this morning. What did they want?
The Grieveses want me to tell them all our secrets and turn everyone in.
What a load of rubbish. As if things aren't bad enough, they always find a way to make them worse.
Mrs. Grieves enters the hallway, searching for disobedience.
We can't talk now. Let's meet tonight at the View. I hate the roof. You know how I feel about heights. It's the safest place to go. Fine. What time? 11.
Mrs. Grieves storms toward Tom and Sarah.
You two, stop your babbling and get to the dining hall. How dare you make eye contact, number 34? Keep your head down and don't test me today. One more misstep and you've had it.
In the workshop the next morning, the orphans were busy making baskets and tables. As Tom searches the room for Sarah, Speckle approaches.
Looking for your friend? I caught her sneaking around the roof last night. She's in solitude. 30 days.
30 days? That's ridiculous!
Are you questioning me?
No, sir.
Perhaps you can get her out early. You have until tomorrow morning to give us the information we need. If not, you won't be seeing her for a long time.
As Speckle marches away, Patrick, 16 years old, the oldest and wisest orphan, approaches Tom.
Backed into a corner, has he? Trying to get information?
How'd you know?
Because they've tried it with me before. What do they have on you?
Mr. Grieves said my parents might be alive, but he wants me to turn everyone in by tomorrow.
Could be a trick. What else?
They have Sarah in solitude for a month.
I heard. No one deserves 30 days.
Something has to be done.
You mean like a breakout?
Yeah, exactly. If not now, then when?
Count me in. But it's gotta be done tonight. We'll get the boys together later.
As Patrick hurries away, Tom whispers the plan to a few of the orphans, who discuss the idea among themselves.
A breakout attempt is crazy. It'll never work. Remember Eddie, who tried to escape over the front gate? He was captured and thrown into solitude for weeks. He's never been the same since.
You think that was bad? What about Brannick, who hid under the trunk of the Grieves' car? He was hoping to escape when they drove to York the next morning. Unfortunately, they never left. He was found by Speckle and punished severely.
There's also that time Danica and Dalen tried to dig a tunnel under the stone wall. But Miss Grieves discovered it, and they've been on kitchen duty ever since.
And let's not forget about Patrick, who has made 9 escape attempts, all massive failures.
He's tried to escape 9 different times?
Yup, the first time was when he was 8. The last one was 6 months ago. He made it to the front gate, but while picking the lock, he was cornered by the vicious guard dog Wind and nearly eaten alive.
It's impossible to escape from Weatherly.
Sitting in the boys' bedroom that night, Patrick, Tom, Bertie, Trevor, Brannick, and Richie discuss their plans. The other boys gather around and listen.
Are you sure this is a good idea?
Yes, it's time we do something. Now I've discovered that Sarah's in the east attic, but the lock is impossible to pick. I know, I've tried.
Then what can we do?
There's a small window at the end of the gable. I could tie a knotted rope around the roof peak and throw it over the side. Tom could climb up and rescue her.
Where did you get a rope?
I found it in the workshop and hid it under my bed.
Okay, but once I rescue Sarah, we're getting out of here and heading to London.
We understand. It's the best place to go.
Tom reaches under his mattress. He grabs a compass and a map, which he unfolds.
Using this map that I found when I got to Weatherly.
You have a map?
Brannick, focus. Using the map and surveying the landscape from the view, I figured out an escape plan.
This is incredible. The map shows the surrounding towns, including the train station.
I think there's a damaged section of the wall about 100 feet from the Grieves' house. You could probably squeeze through the opening, if you can get there.
That might work. We can follow this road, across the field, and over the Leyburn. There must be a train to London.
The rest of your plan makes sense, but that's a long distance from the castle to the wall. It's a full moon tonight. If they unhook Wind from his chain, you'll never make it. But there might be another way.
Patrick hurries to a ceiling panel, removes a flashlight and a folded map, then rushes back.
I found this old architectural drawing of the foundation and underground tunnels when I was locked in the cellar a few months ago.
There are underground tunnels?
Yeah, but no one is supposed to know about them. Here's the main cellar. It looks like there's a false wall hiding a tunnel that leads to a storage shed. It's only 30 feet from the damaged section of the wall.
I, have a problem with being in small places.
Well, get over it.
Right.
I'm not even sure if the map is accurate, but it's a chance we'll have to take. Once I tie the rope over the attic window, you'll climb up, rescue Sarah, then scale back down and make your way to the cellar door.
I'll sneak downstairs, unlock the cellar door, and wait for Tom and Sarah.
Richie, you're in charge of lookout. Find a safe place outside and signal Birdie. If we need to create a massive distraction, we'll call it Operation Chaos.
Got it.
Tom, once you're in the cellar, find the false wall and force it open.
And if I don't find it?
Then improvise. But whatever you do, get past the stone wall and away from Weatherly.
You're not coming with us?
No. By the time I get down from the roof, you and Sarah should already be in the tunnel. Okay, boys, let's move.
Standing, Patrick hands Tom the flashlight and old map.
Birdie, let the girls know what we're planning.
Will do.
Tom looks at his fellow orphans.
Thank you, all of you.
Just remember, Tom, once you escape, tell everyone what goes on at Weatherly and how we're treated. You're our only hope of getting out of here.
You can count on me.
Located in an attic lit by moonlight, Sarah is lying on a bed built from wooden crates. Suddenly, she hears noises outside. Dangling from an exterior rope, Tom reaches the attic window and taps on the glass. Sarah rushes to the window and shoves it open. She grabs Tom's shirt and pulls him inside. He gives her a firm hug, then drops to the floor, exhausted.
What are you doing? Are you crazy?
I'm here to rescue you. We're leaving Weatherly.
Really? Where are we going?
London, just like we talked about. But I think Speckle saw me, so we need to move quickly.
How are we ever going to...
Don't worry, I've got a plan. The other orphans are helping out.
Nervously, Sarah walks to the window and peeks out.
I can't believe you climbed all the way up here.
Unfortunately, that's how we're going back down.
What?
In their daring escape from the attic, Tom and Sarah were seen by Speckle and Operation Chaos was initiated. Orphans run throughout Weatherly, knocking over chairs and raiding the kitchen. Mrs. Grieves and Speckle storm inside, overwhelmed by what they see.
Speckle, what the heck's going on?
I don't know, madam. I saw two of them climbing down from the attic window.
Have Brewster and Sledge capture every one of these scoundrels. I'll get Wind and find those two missing brats.
Located outside, Tom tries to open the cellar door while Sarah holds the flashlight.
Tom! It's Wind! He's getting closer!
Trevor, unlock the door!
What's taking him so long?
I don't know. Trevor, get this thing open!
Finally, the cellar door opens and Trevor pops his head out.
Sorry. It was so dark, I fell down the stairs and was knocked out.
Tom and Sarah rush inside, close the door, and lock it. Tom quickly unfolds the old map and points to a section.
We don't have much time. I think the secret tunnel is hidden behind this wooden wall. Find something heavy to smash it with.
While Trevor searches, Sarah locates an old pipe and hands it to Tom. He smashes through the brittle wood.
It's working! Keep going! I can see a tunnel!
As Trevor clears away the debris, Tom stands at the entrance, hesitant to enter.
What's wrong?
I don't like small spaces.
It's okay. You'll be fine.
Easy for you to say. You're not claustrophobic.
And you're not afraid of heights.
Good point.
I better go before I'm caught. Okay. Thanks for your help. You bet. I'll miss you both.
As Trevor leaves, Tom jumps back.
Yikes! What's that?
It's just rats. Weatherly is filled with them.
It, startled me.
Why don't I lead the way?
Grabbing the flashlight, Sarah enters, followed by Tom. Swiftly moving up the narrow tunnel, they find an old ladder at the end. They climb up and into a small storage shed. Tom walks to a door and opens it.
I can see the stone wall, about 30 feet away. There's an opening.
Should we run for it?
Yeah, it's now or never.
With all their strength, Tom and Sarah run across the grassy field. However, Mrs. Grieves is close by.
Go get 'em, boy! Hunt them down!
Seeing its prey, Wind takes off across the field.
She's let the dog loose! It's coming towards us!
Keep running. We're almost there.
Making it to the wall, Tom and Sarah barely climb through the opening. Wind tries to pursue but slides on the loose stones, snapping his fangs and clawing at the wall. Tom and Sarah tumble to the other side, hurry across the road, and hide in the bushes.
That was close.
Too close.
But we did it. We're free. Free from Weatherly.
It's not over yet. We still have a 4-mile hike to the train station.
What about the police?
We'll stay off the main roads, but whatever we do, we don't get caught.
Although Speckles searched for Tom and Sarah, they were nowhere to be found. Mr. and Mrs. Grieves did their best to counter the uprising. Brewster and Sludge ran through the rooms, waving their arms and scaring everyone back upstairs. One by one, each child was captured and carted away.
Reluctantly, the Grieveses had to accept what happened. There were just too many orphans to punish, and it would disrupt their profitable workshop. Nevertheless, they had one thing on their mind, finding Tom and Sarah.
Late that night in the Weatherly office, Mr. Grieves finished a call on his cell phone. Infuriated, Mrs. Grieves marches in. Speckle stands nearby, eager to help.
We must get those 2 orphans back. If they start talking, telling others about this place,
They won't get far. The local police will find them.
we can't take the risk. If word of the escape goes beyond the local police, the authorities might investigate our activities. We could go to jail.
What do you suggest?
There is someone. He's profoundly gifted at recovering runaways.
Yes, of course. Detective Gowerstone, that's an excellent idea.
I know. Now, make the call and get him here.
Although it was late, the orphans couldn't contain their excitement. They whispered and laughed about all the chaos that was caused, the wonderful food raided from the kitchen, and where their 2 escaped friends might be.
In a sense, each orphan now lived through Tom and Sarah. Every day they remained missing was a silent victory for all of them. Regardless of the future, they all agreed that it was the greatest night in the history of Weatherly, one we would never forget for a lifetime.
Hours later, with a gathering storm outside, Tom and Sarah arrive at Leyburn train station. People walk back and forth carrying holiday packages. The clock reads 12:45.
Just try to blend in and act natural.
Right. Natural. Do you think there's a train to London?
There must be. Maybe we can ask somebody.
Viewing the interior, Tom notices a tall man wearing a blue trench coat. Detective Gowerstone slowly turns.
Hello, Tom.
Gowerstone nods to the left and right. Policemen at opposite ends walk forward. Surprised, Tom is in a daze.
Tom, let's get out of here.
As Sarah pulls Tom forward, Gowerstone talks into a walkie-talkie.
They're headed for the main entrance. Apprehend them. Gently.
Realizing it's a trap, Tom abruptly stops, sees the fire alarm, and pulls it. The deafening bell creates panic throughout the train station that sends everyone to the entrance. As Tom and Sarah cleverly exit a side door, a policeman rushes to Gowerstone.
Sir, they didn't come out the front.
These 2 are intelligent. We must never underestimate them.
What should we...
Get after them. They'll head for the village, then the countryside. Set up a perimeter around the area and move in.
Leaving the town, Tom and Sarah hurry across a moonlit field and plunge into a vast marshland of 6-foot Norfolk reeds. Rain begins to fall, soaking their cold bodies.
Who is that guy?
Detective Gowerstone. He caught one of my friends about 7 years ago. He's a legend in the orphanage circles. Seems to always know what you're thinking and where you'll go. Like tonight.
Policemen slog through the marsh in a wide line. Flashlights are seen dancing in front of them, their voices growing louder as they scour the area.
Quick! We need somewhere to hide!
Tom sees a towering silhouette against the rain clouds.
What is that?
I don't know. It looks like a hot air balloon.
An elderly man sits in his truck nearby, waiting for the weather to change. Tom and Sarah carefully approach.
Let's jump in. Maybe the police won't see us.
Glancing at the soaring balloon secured by 4 ropes, Tom and Sarah climb into the basket and duck down. 2 large propane tanks are attached to a corner. Metal tubing extends from the tanks to a burner unit, suspended under the opening. 2 knotted ropes dangle down. Policemen advance from all directions, flashlights combing the field.
Over here!
They found us!
I can't go back to Weatherly, Tom. I just can't.
Standing, Tom starts untying one of the ropes.
Maybe you don't have to.
What are you doing? Are you nuts?
Help me if you don't want to get caught.
Realizing their predicament, Sarah springs to the other side and unties the second rope. As Tom begins undoing the last 2 ropes, a policeman flashes his light at the basket.
Okay, you two. Get out of there.
As the last rope snaps free, the balloon launches into the air. Flabbergasted, the policeman looks upward. Bolting from his truck, the elderly man rushes over.
Hey, that's my balloon! Get back here!
Carrying an umbrella, Detective Garristone soon arrives as the policeman hurries over.
What should we do, sir?
Depending on how high they go, most of the currents move southwest, about 15 knots. Now, get my balloon back! I'm supposed to be at the festival today!
Dispatch teams to the neighboring towns to see if the balloon touches down. It's 2 a.m. If Tom and Sarah continue their course by 6 a.m., they'll be about 60 miles southwest.
Ah, right. Got it.
I want you to station officers at Doncaster, Sheffield, and Manchester. These will be our southern bases. Have them report anything they observe, and keep the local lines open for reports of balloon sightings.
Sir, isn't this a lot of work for 2 escaped orphans?
Just do it. Now, get me to the nearest airport.
The balloon rises in a turbulent rain cloud, then breaks free into a clear cobalt sky. Blazing stars ignite the heavens, the clouds beneath washed in a dreamy sea of moonlight. While Tom peers over the side, Sarah crouches in a corner, terrified.
We barely got out of there. For a minute, Sarah?
I told you, I hate heights.
Right, I forgot. You're missing some great scenery. Stand up so you can see it better.
Tom offers Sarah his hand.
No.
Well, if you're afraid.
Feeling challenged, Sarah glares at Tom, then reluctantly pulls herself up. She tries to get her balance, hands clasping the basket. She looks over, then quickly draws back. The balloon continues to soar thousands of feet upward.
That's odd. Look, ice is forming on the ropes.
Tom, the balloon isn't stopping. How do we stop it?
I don't know.
Tom scrambles around, looking for a switch or a lever. He then grabs one of the 2 knotted ropes hanging above him and yanks it. A bright flame blasts and propane ignites the balloon.
Stop that! You're making me go higher!
It's not like I'm a balloon expert.
Tom quickly pulls the other rope. Hot air escapes and the balloon begins to descend.
It's working! Keep pulling!
Tom continues yanking on the rope as the balloon stabilizes.
Any idea how to steer this thing?
Sure, I took ballooning classes at Weatherly. What do you think?
Just asking.
Tom notices a storage bench and opens the lid.
Look, there's a jug of water, binoculars, a few tools, some ropes, and wooden stakes. This could be handy.
Shouldn't we land somewhere?
It's too soon. We'll only get caught. Let's wait and see where it drifts.
As the hours pass, the sun slowly rises and the beautiful countryside appears. Rolling grass fields, farms with animals, crystal blue lakes, castles, large estates with mansions, villages and towns, church steeples, and red-tiled rooftops. Sarah gradually overcomes her fear as she looks onto the horizon.
The scenery is beautiful. How far is London?
Removing his compass and map, Tom examines them.
I think about 150 miles, but we need to be moving southeast, not southwest.
What's wrong?
I really hope once we left Weatherly, we'd be safe. But this Detective Gowerstone, he's a real problem. He won't stop until he captures us.
Then we'll stay 1 step ahead of him.
That won't be easy.
I know, but think what we've accomplished. You rescued me from the attic, we escaped from Weatherly, and we got away from the police. I think we're doing pretty good.
You're right. But we need to figure out how to steer this thing.
What about this?
Sarah reaches up and moves a metal funnel in a circle. Intrigued, Tom begins to fiddle with the contraption.
Maybe if we move this switch down, turn this contraption in the opposite direction, and pull the propane rope, it'll move the balloon forward.
That could work. Then again, it could catch the entire balloon on fire.
Do you hear that? There's something coming towards us.
Tom grabs the binoculars and looks through them.
It's a helicopter!
Sitting in the passenger seat of a helicopter, Detective Gowerstone views the sky through binoculars. He and the pilot both wear headgear with a microphone to communicate.
Sir, I see the balloon. That's them. Aim for it and get as close as possible.
If we're gonna figure out how to steer this, now's the time!
Tom flips a lever on the exhaust funnel and turns it toward the helicopter. Sarah then yanks the exhaust rope. The balloon jolts forward.
Can we go any faster?
Open the valves on the tank. Maybe that'll work.
Sarah turns both tank knobs. Gas hisses through the tubes. As the balloon accelerates, they abruptly swing backward.
Sir, it's turning and moving faster.
So, they figured out how to pilot the balloon. Increase your speed.
We'll never outrun the helicopter. It's too fast. What do we do?
Seizing the binoculars again, Tom scans the sky.
Over there, by the hills. There's balloons. Hundreds of them.
Sarah yanks the binoculars from his hands.
It must be a festival.
In the air?
Where else are you gonna have a balloon festival?
Right. Let's head in that direction. Maybe we can blend in.
Sarah moves the funnel in the opposite direction, and Tom pulls the rope. Gowerstone closely watches from his binoculars as the pilot continues.
We must get closer.
Impossible. We're not allowed to be within 1 mile of the hot air balloons. The turbulence from the blades disrupts them.
Then hold your pattern. We'll track them from here.
Gowerstone looks at the map, then gets on the radio.
This is Detective Gowerstone. We've tracked the balloon to Oxfordshire. The propane should be running out shortly. The orphans will probably pick a major area to land, so get a team over to Oxford University. I want a few officers dressed in plain clothes and placed at the bus stops and train station.
Sir, I'm getting complaints from the other balloon pilots.
Fine. Take me to Oxford.
Tom gives the balloon a long blast of hot air while Sarah peers through the binoculars.
I don't see the helicopter. Do you think he gave up?
No, he'll never give up. But we do seem to be safe for now.
Tom rummages through his pocket and pulls out a piece of paper.
What's that?
When Mr. Grieves questioned me, he said a name. I wrote it down. Britfield.
Britfield? What does that mean?
I have no idea.
Maybe it's your last name.
Maybe.
What do you really know about your parents?
Nothing. My first orphanage was Edmund Briars. Before that, I only have vague images. I'm not sure if they're real or just dreams.
And they never told you anything?
No. If I ever asked, they got angry.
That's odd. Someone must have brought you to your first orphanage.
Those are the memories that seem distorted.
As Tom pulls the rope, one of the propane tanks sputters. He turns the knob and jiggles the tank.
It's empty.
Empty? I guess we didn't think about that.
And the other one's almost out.
We've got to land quickly. What's over there?
Tom looks out, then views his map.
It looks like Oxford University.
Okay, let's find an open field to land. Aim for that farm.
Hastily fiddling with the overhead funnel and propane tanks, Tom works feverishly to control the balloon, but it drops rapidly.
I don't think we're gonna make it.
Tom, look out for the buildings.
Brace yourself.
The balloon crashes over rooftops and smashes chimneys. The impact sends Tom and Sarah tumbling inside the basket, knocking Tom to the floor. The balloon heads directly toward a large stone barn. 5, 4, 3, 2. The basket hits the ground, scraping a track in the soft turf, and stops inches from the wall. As the calm settles, Sarah looks around.
We're okay. We made it. I saw that barn and thought, Tom?
Blood drains from her face as she crawls over to his lifeless body. She gives him a shake, but nothing happens.
Tom, wake up!
Frantic, she clutches the jug of water and douses his face.
What the? Why did you do that?
Relieved, Sarah hugs him firmly.
You're alive.
Of course I am. Why are you hugging me?
Hearing the police whistle, Tom wiggles free from Sarah.
We need to get out of here. Help me secure the balloon.
Tom grabs a hammer and rope. Sarah grabs 2 stakes. After securing the balloon, a policeman arrives.
Hey, you two, don't move!
Startled, Tom and Sarah run across the farmyard, through the surrounding trees and onto High Street, downtown Oxford. Christmas wreaths and colorful lights decorate the lampposts. Students walk back and forth carrying either books or a backpack. The policeman tries to find them, but loses them in the crowd. Hidden in the shadows, Tom peeks around a corner.
I think we lost him.
I think we lost ourselves. Where should we go now?
Let's find a train station.
Don't you think they'll be looking there?
Possibly, but we've got to risk it.
After waiting a few minutes, Tom and Sarah head off. Stationed at Radcliffe Camera, Oxford, Gowerstone examines a detailed map pinned to a wall. Personnel hustle back and forth carrying folders.
Sir, we just received reports of a policeman chasing 2 children by High Street. Extraordinary luck, you knew exactly where they'd be.
Deduction isn't luck, Sergeant. It's logic. Understand your opponent, analyze the circumstances, and mathematically figure out the conclusion.
I meant...
What's the update?
We found the balloon and have 2 policemen guarding it.
The children, Sergeant.
Yes, of course. We're searching every street, store, building, and college. We'll find them. We've a net slowly closing in.
Tom and Sarah cautiously approach the train station. Several adults and students are waiting at the platform. 2 plainly dressed men talk to one another.
I don't see any police.
It seems too easy, doesn't it? Could be a trap.
We'll be careful and sneak onto the next train to London.
As they survey the area, Sarah notices 2 men looking at her.
Tom, those 2 people keep staring at me.
Tom glances over. One of them speaks into a small radio receiver while moving toward them.
Run, Sarah, run!
The plain-dressed policemen spring after them. One grabs Tom's shirt, but he breaks free. Tom and Sarah continue up St. Aldate Street across the road to Christ Church and duck behind a building. Students hasten back and forth to various activities.
I don't see them.
I told you Gowerstone was a nightmare.
How do you know he's behind this?
Trust me, he's here.
I guess we can't take a train to London. Every stop will be watched.
And walking is impossible. It's at least 60 miles. We need help.
Back at Weatherly, Mr. Grieves anxiously marches around the office. Mrs. Grieves sits in a chair with her face buried in her hands.
It's been a day since those miserable brats escaped. If they fall into the wrong hands and start telling people about this place, it could mean real trouble.
No update from Detective Gowerstone?
No, nothing. Why hasn't he caught them? They're just 2 kids. How hard could it be?
We shouldn't have treated them so well. It's time we take matters into our own hands.
What if Gowerstone finds out we're interfering?
He won't. Now get Speckle in here. He's an excellent tracker. He'll find them.
Later that afternoon in Trinity College, Oxford, Professor Hainsworth sits at a table correcting stacks of papers.
Hour by hour and day by day, all I do is grade and grade. When will this tedious nightmare ever end?
Dr. Randolph Churchill Hainsworth III is a celebrity in the academic community, with doctorate degrees in physics, mathematics, and British literature. Promised a sabbatical 3 years ago, along with countless vacations, he still hasn't received any time off. Stressed and overworked, he is plagued by endless days of teaching and grading. He longs for a break, for adventure, for anywhere but Oxford. Outside the campus near Trinity College, Tom and Sarah reappear, desperately looking for somewhere to hide. Students walk back and forth to classes.
Now where?
I don't know. Just keep moving.
Suddenly, a police officer sees them in the distance and starts running towards them. As Tom and Sarah hurry by Trinity College, Sarah trips on a cobbled walkway and falls. In pain, she clutches her ankle. Tom stops and runs back, kneeling by her side.
You okay?
No, it really hurts.
Can you walk?
I don't think so.
Put your arm around my neck. I'll support you. Maybe we can hide in one of these buildings.
Tom gently grabs her waist and lifts her up. They hobble to a row of doors. Tom tries each one, but everything is locked. With nowhere to go, they huddle in a doorway. Policemen are seen combing the area.
I'm sorry, Sarah. It looks like this is the end.
It's okay, Tom. We did our best.
The door behind them opens, knocking Tom in the back.
Pardon me, terribly sorry. I was headed outside for some fresh air.
Oh, sir, you gotta help us. You gotta hide us.
What's this all about? Who are you? What's wrong with her?
She twisted her ankle.
Then get her to a hospital.
There's no time.
Hainsworth notices the police nearby.
Are those officers looking for you?
Yes, sir.
Why? What have you done?
It's complicated.
It usually is.
Please, sir, can't you help us?
Hainsworth is conflicted, but sympathetic.
All right, get her inside. Quickly.
Thank you.
Tom helps Sarah through the doorway, and Hainsworth follows. A minute later, an officer hurries to the area and looks around. Gowerstone follows behind, examining the buildings.
We lost them. I know they're here. Search every building in Trinity College.
We'll scour the entire campus.
Tom and Sarah sit on a couch as Hainsworth walks around his room.
Well then, I think you owe me an explanation.
Sir, I'll explain everything. But can we help Sarah first?
Yes, of course. I'll get some ice for her ankle, an aspirin, and perhaps some tea?
An hour later, Sarah's foot was wrapped and she was sleeping. Tom walked around the room, telling Professor Hainsworth about his horrible life growing up in the orphanages, his time at Weatherly, Mr. and Mrs. Grieves, rescuing Sarah, Detective Gowerstone, finding the balloon, and anything else he could think of.
That's incredible, Tom. The things you've both endured at Weatherly. Horrible place, just horrible. Despicable people, those Grieveses. I can't believe things like that still go on in England. And now you'd like to get to London? Start a new life?
Yes, sir.
Hainsworth stands, pours a cup of tea, and hands it to Tom.
I suppose if I ever ran away, London is where I would go. Spectacular city.
Sarah slowly awakes from her sleep.
Good, you're up. How do you feel?
Much better. Thank you.
Hainsworth glances at the stacks of ungraded papers, plops back down in his armchair, and lets out a groan.
Is everything all right?
It's nothing. Just never-ending work.
As Hainsworth pours Sarah a cup of tea, he's struck by an idea.
Did you say you have a balloon?
Yes, on the outskirts of town.
That sounds quite adventurous.
That's one way to put it.
Hainsworth grabs a map and sets it on the table.
Where exactly is it located?
I think it's around here, on this farm. by Magdalen College.
Yes, I know exactly where that is.
But we're out of propane, and the balloon is probably guarded by policemen.
That's a fascinating problem. In need of a solution.
It won't be long before Gowerstone searches this building. He won't stop until he finds us.
Why is this detective so determined to capture 2 orphans?
That's what we've been trying to figure out.
Hainsworth stands, stares at the stacks of papers, then walks around, contemplating.
I'll tell you what. I'll make a deal with you.
Yeah?
I'll pay for a propane truck and get you to your balloon if you allow me to escort you to London. Sounds like you could use some help.
Tom and Sarah exchange an excited look.
Absolutely.
It's a deal, Professor.
Then let's make haste.
Hainsworth grabs his wallet, raincoat, and umbrella.
That's all you're bringing?
That's all I need. Wait here for a moment.
Hainsworth walks to his door, slowly opens it, and makes sure that the coast is clear.
Okay, let's go.
After hiring a propane truck to drive them to the farm, Professor Hainsworth told the policeman guarding the balloon that he saw 2 suspicious-looking children hiding down the street. The officers instantly pursued, leaving the area. Hainsworth then had the propane tanks refilled, paid the driver, and he drove away. Now, Hainsworth and Sarah stand in the balloon basket while Tom holds the canvas. Sarah ignites the blast valve and pulls on the rope. The canvas slowly fills until it rises overhead. However, police cars with flashing lights are seen in the distance.
They're coming. Tom, we need to hurry.
Tom unties the rope and climbs into the basket. Policemen arrive and rush toward the location. Tom releases the last rope and the balloon takes off. 2 officers remove their guns and aim when Gowerstone runs up behind them.
Hold your fire!
The balloon rockets skyward as Tom, Sarah, and Hainsworth gaze over the side. Seeing them, Gowerstone shakes his head and lets out a lengthy sigh.
How could they escape again?
Sir, we have a few police cars pursuing, but we'll lose them over Stoner Park. There's a terrible storm coming.
I've taken care of that. Now, find out everything you can about the man helping them. Who is he and why he's involved?
Should I call the airport?
No, just bring me my car.
Another policeman hands Gowerstone a cell phone.
Sir, urgent call. It's the Prime Minister.
Just what I needed.
The balloon soars through the cloudy sky as the slated rooftops of Oxford shrink.
Marvelous. Brilliant. Fantastic. Well done, you 2. What a remarkable escape.
We never would have made it without you.
In times of trouble, the best solution is forward. Now, let's get to London. You 2 can manage this thing, right?
Tom shares a nervous glance with Sarah.
Yeah, of course.
While Tom and Sarah work the ropes and funnel, maneuvering in and out of the clouds, Hainsworth studies Tom's map.
Gauging the altitude, distance, and wind currents, we should be to London in less than 2 hours. That is, if we don't run into any problems.
Removing the paper from his pocket, Tom examines the name Britfield.
Maybe the professor knows about the name. Ask him.
Professor, a few days ago when I was at Weatherly, Mr. Grieves told me that my parents might be alive and mentioned the name Britfield.
That's a name I haven't heard in years.
Then you recognize it?
Yes, but it's never talked about.
Why?
Because of a danger associated with it. The subject is forbidden to be taught, and any available information ends in 1837, when Princess Victoria became Queen of Great Britain. Since then, most documents about the Britfields were destroyed.
I don't understand.
It has been said that the Britfields are the true heirs to the British throne.
I've never read about that.
Few, if any, have. It's a secret not many know about.
The sky darkens as the temperature drops. Thunder rumbles, lightning flashes, and rain showers down. Hainsworth opens his umbrella, but the wind rips it from his hands.
Blasted weather. I hate rain.
You live in England but don't like rain?
One of the unfortunate dispositions of this glorious country.
What should we do?
Let's maneuver away from this tempest and land somewhere safe.
Trying to control the balloon, wind sweeps it upward and into the storm. Tom, Sarah, and Hainsworth grab the basket as a turbulent gale batters the balloon, knocking them around like a kite caught in a hurricane. Lightning slices the sky, followed by sharp cracks of thunder.
Do something! The balloon's gonna be ripped apart!
Tom pulls on the ropes but has no control.
I'm trying! Nothing's working!
Hold on!
Arriving at 10 Downing Street, London, Gowerstone walks into an office. The Prime Minister sits at a desk.
You wanted to see me?
Yes. With everything happening, it's time we talk. I know you have an impeccable record, Detective. You've always succeeded in capturing your adversary and finding missing children. Well, except for...
That was 10 years ago.
Regardless, we're privileged to have you on the force.
Thank you.
But this whole thing with the orphans is completely out of control. I mean, all this trouble for just 2 children. You've scoured the countryside, used a local airport, had policemen searching Oxford, and you still haven't caught them.
It's a complicated case. You need to trust me.
If this leaks to the press and comes out in the papers, it'll be a political nightmare. Not just for me, but for you too. If the public finds out that you're chasing 2 orphans across England, it'll get ugly. It's simple things like this that end careers.
I understand. I just need a little more time.
You've got 2 days, Gowerstone. After that, I'll need to look out for myself.
The storm continues above the countryside. Violently shaken, Tom, Sarah, and Hainsworth grasp the basket. Sarah peers over the side, searching for a clearing.
We need to land!
What about over there? What's that building, Professor?
That, my dear, is Windsor Castle.
Maybe not such a good idea.
We don't have a choice. It's there or nowhere.
But we'll be arrested.
No need to worry. It's time that I visit an old friend.
Desperately working the controls, Tom yanks the descent cord again. The hot air escapes and the balloon finally descends. Rapidly dropping, it scrapes and bounces along the soggy grass in front of Windsor Castle before it stops at the front entrance.
Quick, let's tie it down so it doesn't blow away.
By the time Tom and Sarah finish securing the balloon with ropes and stakes, armed royal guards surround them. Frightened, Tom and Sarah stand motionless. However, Hainsworth remains calm. The royal commander approaches them.
You're trespassing on royal property. You're under arrest and will be held until the local police remove you from the grounds.
Not the welcome we hoped for.
I told you.
My good man, there's no need for this. If you would be so kind as to contact Philip Rothenshire.
What does Mr. Rothenshire have to do with? He's very busy.
As you can see, so are we.
Hesitant, the commander pulls a radio from his belt and speaks into the receiver.
It's Robert, front entrance. Have Mr. Rothenshire come here, immediately.
A few minutes later, Philip, dressed in a raincoat and Wellingtons, walks over, followed by the first footman. Shocked, Philip examines the balloon.
What is this all about? You know how busy Professor Hainsworth, what are you doing here?
A very long story, my good friend. How about inviting us in, and I'll explain everything.
Yes, of course. It'd be my privilege, Professor.
Philip turns to the commander and nods.
Disengage, men.
The guards lower their weapons and stand at attention. Hainsworth climbs over the basket and embraces Philip. Absorbed in conversation, the two march toward the arched entryway. Tom and Sarah hurry to catch up.
That was a bit awkward.
You think?
Everyone enters Windsor Castle. The inside is like an ancient museum with antiques and priceless artwork. Adding to the regality is the Christmas decor, including 6-foot wooden nutcrackers and royal Stuart tartan. The effect is magical.
I hope we're not imposing. I know we've put you in quite a predicament.
For you, Professor, I'm willing to make any sacrifice. Fortunately, the royals are gone this week. I can take a few liberties.
Excellent. Let me introduce my friends. This is Tom, a very talented and resourceful young man, and Sarah, a refined and delightful young woman. This is Philip Candor Rothenshire, a 4th-generation butler and superintendent of Windsor Castle. His relatives have been associated with the royal family for centuries.
Philip stares at Tom for a moment, sensing a familiarity, then shakes both the children's hands.
I'm honored to have you as guests. After you wash up, change into new clothing, and have dinner, you may stay tonight.
Wonderful. That's settled.
Philip snaps his fingers. The first footman hurries over.
Yes, sir.
Take Professor Hainsworth, Tom, and Sarah to the state apartments. Run a bath for each of them, and make sure they have a change of clothing. When they're ready, bring them to the Waterloo chamber.
Right away, sir.
Smiling, Tom, Sarah, and Hainsworth follow the first footman to a beautiful marble staircase with oil paintings of the royal monarchy hanging on the wall. Returning later that night to Radcliffe Camera, Oxford, Gowerstone storms into his temporary headquarters. 3 policemen stand at attention.
Where have you been, sir? We've been trying to contact you.
I was detained by the Prime Minister.
Gowerstone studies a computer screen, showing a map of England and a flashing dot at Windsor Castle.
Because of the electronic tracker you hid in the balloon basket, we've traced them to Windsor Castle. What are they doing there?
I've no idea. The way this case is going, I've learned to expect the unexpected. Are the royals in residence?
No, sir. They're at Buckingham Palace.
Good. We still have a few loyal contacts at Windsor, correct?
Yes, sir.
Update them about the situation and have them secure the children until the morning. Also, Notify the local police about the circumstances. The Prime Minister demanded that we keep things quiet. We'll head there first thing in the morning. Now, what have you found about the man helping the children?
His name is Dr. Randolph Churchill Hainsworth, a professor at Trinity College.
Why is the professor involved in this? He has no idea the danger he's in.
Sitting in the elegant library at Windsor Castle, Philip stands by a roaring fireplace enjoying a glass of cognac. Wearing a new suit, Hainsworth relaxes in a chair. Mahogany shelves with leather-bound books line the walls. Entering the room, Tom is dressed in new pants, a new shirt, and polished shoes. Sarah wears an emerald dress, matching hair ribbon, and new shoes.
How was your dinner?
Fantastic. I don't know if food could taste so good. Thank you for everything. The hot bath, the new clothes, and the best meal I've ever had.
You're welcome. We stock all types of clothing for just such occasions.
Professor, how do you know Philip?
He was one of my students at Oxford. Although he struggled at first, he worked hard and became an excellent scholar. I'm proud of him.
At first, our welcome seemed like a disaster.
Remember, Tom, a little faith and patience will get you a long way. This morning, I was overwhelmed by work. Tonight, I'm with a fine young man and an enchanting young woman at Windsor. You two have made me very happy.
What about your job?
I'll worry about that later.
Tomorrow morning, I'll make sure the balloon is repaired and ready for travel. But may I suggest you take a train?
We'll discuss that later.
Lost in his thoughts, Tom gazes at the fire.
What's on your mind, Tom?
It's what we talked about earlier. I'm curious what else you know about the Britfields.
Alarmed by the name, Philip stares at Tom.
From what I remember, the Britfields were one of England's oldest families, going back to the 1100s. It was said that they have a strong claim to the English throne. Philip, with your royal knowledge, you must have something to contribute.
It's all speculation, but when the Stuarts took power in 1603, they felt threatened by the claim. So, many of the Britfields were arrested and imprisoned. Some were even killed. Overpowered, the Britfields relocated to different parts of England.
Why didn't they fight back?
There were many battles, but the Britfields were outnumbered and eventually betrayed. However, they continued to fight. As they prepared to take the English crown, the Civil War broke out in 1642 and the country was thrown into chaos.
Professor, you mentioned 1837. Why is that date so important?
It was the year Victoria became queen. Because she ascended from the Hanover royal line, which was mostly German, many people believed that her claim was unlawful. After centuries of fighting, it was the moment the Britfields had waited for.
Well, they obviously didn't retake the throne, so what happened?
The Britfields gathered from all parts of the country, offering countless historical documents and undisputable proof. But Lord Torrington, one of the Queen's guardians, hired mercenaries to hunt down and eliminate every remaining Britfield. He burned their documents and erased any traces of their existence.
That's horrible. What finally became of them?
From what I recall, a few Britfields escaped and vanished into hiding.
And there isn't any information since then?
Colleges were forced to remove the name from their curriculum. Scholars were discouraged from mentioning it. If it wasn't recorded, it wasn't taught. And so goes most of history.
Philip becomes tense, his eyes dancing around the room.
You must know more, Professor.
My areas of expertise are physics and science, but I do have a colleague at King's College London who specializes in this field.
Can we visit him?
Well, I don't see why not. It might be helpful to.
Why bring up all this historical nonsense? The entire thing is nothing but ancient rumors and conspiracy theories.
My friend Tom has been an orphan his entire life. He was recently informed that his parents might be alive, and was given the name Britfield.
There's nothing known about the Britfields for the last 150 years. They vanished, as you said, and it should be left that way.
Always an antagonist, Philip. I like that about you. The name and connection may indicate nothing. However, it's worth investigating.
Yes, you're right. I apologize. If you'll excuse me, I need to check up on something.
After Philip leaves the room, he makes a call on his cell phone.
Professor, don't you think Philip was acting strange?
Being part of a royal staff carries unusual requirements. They live in a world most of us could never understand.
But his reaction to our conversation was a bit intense.
Think nothing of it. Philip's always been, well, odd.
Tom stretches his arms and lets out a deep yawn.
It's late. You two should get some rest. I'll see you in the morning.
As Tom and Sarah leave, Hainsworth remains in his comfy chair, enjoying the warm fire and peaceful atmosphere. Now midnight, Philip stands outside on a patio terrace, speaking to Mr. Coldwell, a heavy-set, middle-aged man dressed in an overcoat. The moon breaks through the clouds.
Why have you called me here tonight?
It's regarding the Britfield incident 10 years ago. You did take care of the problem we hired you for, right?
Yes, of course. Why do you ask?
I've been inside with an old professor of mine and 2 children.
What does that have to do with me?
Well, the boy looks very familiar. His eyes and facial features. He's an orphan, but for some reason he brought up the name Britfield. Why?
Surprised by the comment, Coldwell anxiously paces.
As I recall, you were generously paid and told us the situation was handled.
Yes. And I was promised it would never be brought up again.
I've never had a reason. After you kidnapped the child, you disposed of the body, correct? Left no traces?
There was one detail left unfinished.
Philip seizes Coldwell by the overcoat lapels.
Unfinished? What are you telling me?
I just couldn't do it. I couldn't.
What?
I grabbed the boy, just like we had planned, but I couldn't kill him. So I took him to an orphanage. I paid the caretaker to never ask questions or contact the authorities.
Then the Britfield heir could still be alive. You careless fool! Do you have any idea the severity of this situation? After all these years, thinking the true royal bloodline was dead.
For all we know, the child died years ago at the orphanage.
Thanks to you, we don't know anything. Your incompetence is unforgivable. When the committee hears about this, it'll be out of my hands.
What do you want me to do?
You need to send your men back to that orphanage, find that child, and deal with it.
But what about your guests?
I don't want to take any chances. I'll deal with them in the morning.
Dressed for the day, Tom walks to his bedroom door, but it's locked. He jiggles the doorknob, but it won't open. Tom begins to tap on the thick wooden panel.
Hey, is anyone out there? The door won't open.
Tom hears whispers of 2 people on the opposite side.
We are supposed to keep them here for another hour. Philip is planning to move the children to a new location where they'll be dealt with.
What about the professor?
He'll be eliminated as well. We're the only ones who know they landed here last night. Let's keep it that way.
Tom jumps back from the door, almost afraid to touch it.
Eliminated? We've been betrayed. I've got to warn Sarah.
Tom looks around the room for another way out, then opens one of the windows and climbs onto a narrow ledge 3 stories up. As he takes a few steps, he falters on the slippery surface, but quickly regains his balance. He continues shuffling along to Sarah's window and peeks inside. Already dressed, Sarah is knocking on her bedroom door, trying to open it. Tom gently taps on the window glass. Puzzled, she hastens to the window and opens it.
Not this again. What are you doing out there?
We must leave Windsor Castle.
Why? What's going on?
They locked my door too. I think they want to send us back to Weatherly and do something to the professor.
But I thought Philip was helping us.
No, he can't be trusted. Are you still afraid of heights?
After the balloon? Are you kidding me?
Good. Let's find the professor and leave. We'll climb down the corner of the downspout.
Tom and Sarah step onto the ledge and head to the corner. Standing in his office, Philip listens to his cell phone. Coldwell nervously stands nearby.
Yes, I'm as shocked as you are. I just found out last night. I believe the boy has been alive this entire time. Well, I can't be sure, but the child fits the profile and has similar traits. A DNA test would verify it. Yes, sir. Finish what we started. I'll see to it.
After Philip ends the call, he gives Coldwell an icy glare.
They're making arrangements. In a few more minutes, we'll have a location to take them. You have no idea the trouble you created.
I promise you, I won't fail this time.
Your life depends on it.
A distressed footman enters the office.
Sir, we just received word that Detective Gowerstone and the police are on their way. We're supposed to detain the 2 children and the professor.
What? How did the police find out?
I don't know. Maybe one of the royal guards?
What does Detective Gowerstone want with the children?
All I know is the 2 escaped from an orphanage and he's been tracking them.
What a mess! Bring them from their rooms. I'll stall the detective when he arrives.
Climbing down from the ledge, Tom and Sarah sneak around the exterior castle.
Where could the professor be? He wasn't in his bedroom. Maybe she's in the library?
As Sarah watches the exterior, Tom peeks in a window and sees Hainsworth resting in a leather chair, a book in his lap.
I see him. He's sleeping.
Sleeping? I hope he's okay.
Tom and Sarah open the window and enter the library. Tom runs to Hainsworth and shakes his shoulder.
Professor, wake up!
What time is it?
Sarah tugs on Hainsworth's arm.
Professor, we've got to get out of here.
What's wrong?
It's not safe. Philip can't be trusted.
What are you talking about?
He locked us in our rooms and wants to do something with us.
Why would Philip do that?
We don't know, but we need to get to the balloon and leave.
Sarah and Tom pull Hainsworth to his feet, and they hurry outside. At the main castle entrance, there is loud knocking. Philip calmly opens the front door. Detective Garristone storms in, followed by a group of policemen.
What may I do for you, Detective?
I'm here for the 2 children, Tom and Sarah. Take me to them immediately.
What have they done?
None of your concern.
Sir, with all due respect, you're on royal property.
And you're interfering with my investigation. Now stop stalling and show me where they are.
As you wish, right this way.
How did the children end up in Windsor Castle?
The whole thing is quite a mystery.
Humor me with the specifics.
Their balloon crashed on our front lawn last night.
Why wasn't it reported to the authorities?
I know Dr. Hainsworth, one of the passengers. He was my professor at Oxford.
How convenient.
Garristone motions to the policemen.
Search the entire castle and find them.
Tom, Sarah, and Hainsworth hide behind a building corner, looking at the balloon. It appears ready for takeoff.
It's just sitting there.
After he arrived last night, Philip must have told the servants to have it ready this morning.
What should we do, Professor? Should we try for the balloon?
That may be our only way out of here.
Seeing that nobody is guarding it, they run across the grass field and climb into the basket. Alerted, royal guards head toward the balloon. Garristone sees them through a window and hurries from the castle with 2 policemen.
The royal guards are coming!
Untie the ropes!
Tom and Sarah unhook the ropes from inside the basket. As the balloon soars into the sky, Hainsworth, Tom, and Sarah glance over the side. As the royal guards raise their rifles, Garristone runs over with the policemen.
No one fire.
The royal guards hesitate, then lower their weapons.
Sir, what are your instructions?
I think Philip knows more than he's telling us. Arrest him. Then take him to New Scotland Yard. We'll track the balloon.
Right away, sir.
The policeman hurries away. From a distance, Coldwell and Philip watch the balloon disappear.
At least the police didn't get them. We still have time. They'll be heading to London. The professor mentioned a friend at King's College, specializing in royal history. Find that professor, and you'll find the boy.
And when I locate them?
No more mistakes. Get rid of them. All of them.
As the balloon climbs, Windsor Castle fades in the hazy clouds. Tom works the funnel, and Sarah controls the exhaust rope. Puzzled by the events, Hainsworth is in a daze.
Where should we go?
London, just like we planned. Professor?
I'm so sorry for what's happened. I'm at loss for words.
It's not your fault.
But why would Philip want to harm you?
We don't know. Everything was fine until Tom mentioned the Britfields. Then Philip started acting strangely.
Even angry, if you ask me. He took the subject very seriously.
He would. His entire life has been devoted to protecting the crown.
But at what cost?
Professor, can Tom be connected to the Britfields?
The subject is beyond me. When we arrive in London, we'll visit Dr. Beagleswick.
As Sarah works the ropes, Tom reaches in the bench for the binoculars and finds a small black device tucked in a corner. He hands the object to Hainsworth, who carefully examines it.
What is it, Professor?
It looks like a tracking device. I presume it's how Detective Garristone followed us. He must have put it in the balloon when we were at Oxford.
And it explains how he knew we were at Windsor Castle.
What should we do?
Get rid of it. Quickly.
Smiling, Tom tosses the device over the side. They continue their flight, navigating around Heathrow Airport and gliding above Richmond Park, its vast acres covered with patches of trees and roaming deer. As the balloon approaches London, its majestic outline grows with every passing second. After a break in the clouds, Sarah points to the skyline.
Look! I can see London!
Tom and Sarah share the binoculars, dazzled by the wonderful sights, the grand townhouses of Kensington and Notting Hill, Holland Park buzzing with activity, Piccadilly Circus crowded with tourists, Buckingham Palace and Westminster Abbey, the Thames flowing past the House of Parliament, Big Ben soaring into the sky, Tower Bridge crossing the river, black cabs and red double-decker buses dashing everywhere.
It's absolutely brilliant.
There's nothing like London, a magnificent city. By the way, I never asked. What are your plans?
We don't really know, but anything's better than Weatherly.
I could find a job. I don't mind working, as long as I get paid for it.
And not work all the time.
And explore London, play in the park, and eat whatever we want.
Visit museums and libraries.
And have some fun growing up.
That sounds like a marvelous plan.
Where should we land?
We need to find an open space, perhaps Hyde Park. Not ideal, but it might just work.
Starting to descend, the balloon flies toward Hyde Park, its grass fields and walkways crowded with people scattered throughout the 600 acres. Several of them sight the balloon and point. Tom peers over the edge and searches for an open area.
It's too crowded. We need to find somewhere else to land.
Aim for Serpentine Lake.
Hand on the burner rope, Tom gives it a blast. The balloon rises again just feet above people's heads as it approaches the shoreline. Sarah rushes to Tom's side.
Wait, I can't swim!
It's too late. The balloon drops toward the icy water. White-faced, Sarah clutches Tom. The balloon splashes down and the basket tips over, dumping the trio into the murky water. While listening to updates on his cell phone, an officer drives a police car towards the city. Gowerstone sits in the passenger seat, anxious to find the children.
Sir, I just received word that the balloon crashed in Hyde Park.
Is everyone all right? Are the children hurt?
I don't know. That's all that was reported.
All right, we need to hurry. Get there as fast as possible and dispatch teams to the park.
Soaking wet, Tom and Hainsworth help Sarah to the shoreline. She coughs as she struggles to catch her breath. A few bystanders watch with interest.
That's it. Keep breathing.
You all right?
Sarah opens her eyes and glares at Tom.
I told you I couldn't swim.
Scared the life out of me. I thought you were gone.
So did I.
In the distance, approaching police sirens are heard.
I hate to rush you, but we need to leave.
If you're okay to move, we should find somewhere safe to stay.
I haven't come this far to get caught now.
As Sarah nods, Tom and Hainsworth help her stand.
I suppose this is more than you bargained for, Professor.
You don't have to stay with us anymore. We'd understand.
Are you kidding? Aside from Sarah nearly drowning, it's been the best time I've ever had in years. Perhaps a lifetime.
But you got us to London like you promised.
No buts. Let's see this thing through to the end. While we're in London, it's my treat. We'll stay at the Duke's Hotel in St. James. The manager, Brandon, was a student of mine. We should be safe there. At least for now. We could clean up and rest. Then I'll call Dr. Beagleswick.
Tom, Hainsworth, and Sarah disappear through the gathering crowd and hurry toward the city. Standing on a bridge in Hyde Park, Gowerstone looks through his binoculars at the chaotic sight, the hot air balloon draped over the lake. Scanning the area, he sees 3 figures running away and calls in the sighting on his cell phone.
I spotted the children. They're headed towards St. James. Get all available officers to the location and keep me updated.
Although the police thoroughly searched St. James, they couldn't find a single clue or reliable witness. London was just too big of a city to cover. After interrogating Philip at New Scotland Yard, Detective Gowerstone learns that Tom and Sarah might be going to King's College. He gathered a team of officers and headed to the campus. Hours later, after checking in at the Duke's Hotel, Tom, Sarah, and Hainsworth took a cab to King's College. They found the campus directory listing the faculty and stand by a door in the history department.
Do you think your friend will know about the Britfields?
If anyone does, it's Dr. Beagleswick.
Tom gives the door a gentle knock. There are noises of shuffling papers and banging drawers. The handle turns and the door slowly squeaks open, revealing a feeble little man, scarcely 5 feet tall. With a long, crooked nose and a tiny patch of hair on each side of his bald head, he adjusts his narrow spectacles.
Yes. What is it?
Dr. Beagleswick?
That's correct. What do you want?
Hainsworth steps forward into view.
My good friend and colleague.
Dr. Hainsworth. Brilliant. Come in.
Everyone enters the office and finds a chair to sit in. The cluttered room has ancient maps, lineage charts, and diagrams of British dynasties pinned to the walls.
What can I do for you?
We're interested in any recent information about the Britfield dynasty.
Britfields? That's a name that causes a lot of trouble. Never talked about in universities today.
I know it's a delicate subject. However, it's not an area of my expertise.
It's no one's expertise and should be left that way.
You must know something.
What does this have to do with you?
We think that Tom may be connected to the family.
Impossible. There's no one left.
I understand. It's a sensitive topic, but you're our only hope in finding the truth.
Apprehensive, Dr. Beagleswick removes his glasses, cleans the lenses with a handkerchief, then carefully places them back on.
Well, there might be someone left.
Anything would be helpful.
Dr. Beagleswick walks to a file cabinet, removes a set of keys from a pocket, and unlocks the bottom drawer. Tucking it open, Dr. Beagleswick rummages through the files, grabs a folder with a royal crest on the front, and returns to the chair.
I've been collecting information for years. It's not right to suppress the past. History is history and should be taught as such. Britfield, where to begin?
We know about Queen Victoria, Lord Torrington, and the banishing of the Britfields.
Nasty business that was. A low point in our illustrious history. Few know of it. Not many documents left. Because of Queen Victoria's popularity, nothing could be done to challenge her claim to the throne, so the Britfields waited. Those who didn't leave Britain moved to southern England and hid in isolated manors along the coast.
Why did they stay at all, knowing they could be killed?
This was their country. They had every right to be here, and they didn't like being told otherwise. Stubborn people, those Britfields. Strong-minded and unwavering.
Sarah smiles at Tom, noting the characteristic.
When Queen Victoria died in 1901, she was succeeded by her son, Edward VII, who was also German. When his son, George V, became king, he changed the last name to Windsor, the current dynasty. At this point, the Britfields hoped to reclaim their throne, but World War I started. When it ended, Britain was devastated. 2 decades later was World War II, even more costly. Although Britain won, no one wanted any more fighting, especially over royal claims.
But that's not fair!
Life is usually like that, my young friend. Still, the Windsor dynasty never felt safe, so they searched for any remaining Britfields. Anyone found was quickly removed.
That's awful.
Yes, it was.
Dr. Beagleswick checks for any current information.
It seems the last remaining family moved to a secret location in Kent. Decades had passed without trouble until one day the Britfields were betrayed by a friend. Their house was found and their only child, a son, was taken. That happened 10 years ago and ended any hope for the future of Britfield.
How do you know all this?
A trusted friend and acquaintance.
Did they ever find the child?
No. The Britfields stayed for years, hiding in different locations and hoping their son would be recovered, but he was never found. Devastated, they left England forever. But where they are, or if they're still alive, no one knows.
This acquaintance, is it possible for us to speak?
No, much too dangerous. I've already told you too much.
If there's a link between Tom and the Britfields, it must be pursued.
Please, can you help us?
Flustered, Dr. Beagleswick takes a deep breath.
My contact is the Archbishop of Canterbury. He was the Britfields' closest friend. If anyone knows where they are, he does.
Then we'll visit him.
Wait, there's one more thing. Someone else who betrayed the Britfields.
Loud footsteps are heard echoing in the hallway.
Quick! Lock the door!
Tom rushes to the door, turns a key, and backs away. Coldwell stands on the other side, his image seen through the frosty glass. The door shakes, followed by violent pounding.
We need to escape. Tom, the window.
Hurrying to the window, Tom opens it and motions everyone over. Sarah swiftly climbs through and drops to the ground 10 feet below. Hainsworth follows.
Come on, Dr. Beagleswick. We need to...
The door smashes open. Coldwell rushes in and knocks Dr. Beagleswick to the ground. As Tom jumps from the window, Coldwell runs to the opening. Dazed, Dr. Beagleswick grabs a heavy book and throws at Coldwell, hitting him.
You stupid fool.
Coldwell knocks Dr. Beagleswick unconscious, then bolts from the room and heads outside. On Fleet Street, Tom, Sarah, and Hainsworth search for somewhere to hide. The city is busy with packed sidewalks and congested traffic. Towering skyscrapers are overhead. Christmas lights hang everywhere. People bustle about, carrying holiday gifts.
How did he know where we were?
Philip must have told them.
That little rat! What about Dr. Beagleswick?
Hainsworth sees police cars approaching the college.
He'll be alright. The police are on their way. We should head into the city.
Unaware that Coldwell is close behind, Tom, Sarah, and Hainsworth cross Fleet Street. The dome of St. Paul's Cathedral dominates the skyline.
Where should we hide?
What about in there?
St. Paul's Cathedral? Good idea. Let's hurry while still open.
Tom, Sarah, and Hainsworth run inside the massive structure while attendants clear the remaining visitors. Minutes later, Gowerstone arrives outside and surveys the area. A policeman soon approaches.
Sir, someone saw 2 kids and an older man run inside the cathedral. Should we seal off all the exits?
Yes, I'll take a team inside to search. Anything else?
An attendant said that a man wearing a dark raincoat ran after them.
Arrest him and find out who he is.
Despite the chase, Tom and Sarah tilt their heads, gazing at the shimmering biblical frescoes hundreds of feet above them. Then they notice police entering from different directions.
All the exits are blocked. How do we get out of here?
Through the crypt.
The crypt?
Tom, Sarah, and Hainsworth scurry down a set of stairs and descend into the crypt, a catacomb of alabaster columns and marble caskets. It's chilly, the lighting faint. Eyes widening, Sarah clutches Tom's hand. Policemen's footsteps under overhead, their voices echoing.
I've got an uncomfortable feeling about this.
It's not so bad. If you're dead.
Thanks, you're a real help.
Through here, toward the back exit.
What's that, Professor?
Lord Nelson's tomb, one of Britain's greatest admirals.
Is he still in there?
I hope so.
So there's bodies in all of these coffins?
Yep. At least they're not out of their coffins.
Quietly moving forward, they ascend a narrow set of stairs to a back exit. Hainsworth eases the door open, viewing the deserted churchyard.
It appears safe. Let's head toward those apartment buildings.
As each of them step outside, 2 policemen hurry over.
Stop right there.
Get Sarah out of here and keep her safe.
But what about...
Run, Tom! Run!
Hainsworth intercepts the 2 policemen. Grappling with them, Hainsworth is quickly wrestled to the ground and handcuffed. Startled, Tom and Sarah bolt across the street while looking behind them.
We've got to help him!
There's nothing we can do. Let's head back to the Duke's Hotel.
Rounding the corner, Gowerstone sees Tom and Sarah. Gowerstone signals other policemen to follow.
What should we do with the professor?
Take him to New Scotland Yard. I want to interrogate him.
What about the children?
They can't be far. Continue your search and start checking hotels.
The chase continues as Tom and Sarah eventually make their way back to their hotel, hoping to see Hainsworth, but he's not in his room. Exhausted, they lock their door and soon fall asleep. Early the next morning, Tom and Sarah are dressed and stand by Hainsworth's door.
I hope the professor made it back last night.
Sarah lightly knocks, then opens the door.
He's not in his room.
Gowerstone must still have him.
He'll tell him everything.
The professor would never betray us.
You're right. Where should we go now?
What would the professor want us to do?
Probably continue on.
You mean Canterbury? But aren't you scared?
Of course I am, but we've managed on our own before, and we're still together.
How do we get there?
By train, Waterloo Station. We'll sneak on and avoid the ticket collector by moving from cabin to cabin.
You're as devious as I am.
You've just now noticed?
By late afternoon, Tom and Sarah arrive at Waterloo Station. A large 4-sided clock shows 3:30. People rush back and forth as trains arrive and depart. Sarah checks the overhead display for cities and times.
The train to Canterbury is on platform 3, but it's leaving soon. Let's try to catch it.
Tom and Sarah hurry to the train. They enter with a flood of passengers carrying presents, sit in 2 empty seats, and peer out of a window. A few minutes later, the train leaves.
I hope the professor's okay. I already miss him.
So do I. He's a great friend.
The best of friends.
Glancing around, Sarah notices the wrapped packages.
I almost forgot. It's Christmas Eve.
This will be my first Christmas away from an orphanage. I'm glad to be spending it with you.
Me too.
By 5 p.m., the train arrives at Canterbury Station. Tom and Sarah exit with the other passengers, then walk up Station Street as lampposts flicker on against the dark sky. The town is bustling with holiday activities and Christmas carolers. Viewing the festivities, Tom spies an enormous structure rising above the rooftops. The low sun transforms the cathedral's towers into an angelic glow of pinks and golds, the copper roof gleaming.
That's gotta be Canterbury Cathedral. It's enormous.
Let's hurry. We need to get there before it closes.
Tom and Sarah anxiously run up the hill. Upon entering the cathedral, the interior is cold and empty. Rows of pews line the nave. Candles dance in the breeze. Pillars climb the stone walls, securing the massive arches overhead. A bishop strolls over, hands clasped in front of him.
Good evening. I'm Bishop Carmichael. How can I help you?
We're looking for the Archbishop.
Do you have an appointment?
No, but it's very important. We must see...
I apologize, but he's booked months in advance.
But we need to talk to him now.
That won't be possible. We'll be closing soon to prepare for Christmas Eve service, but you're welcome to look around.
Tell him Dr. Beagleswick sent us.
Wait here.
The bishop leaves. After a few minutes, Tom and Sarah see a shadowy figure emerge. Sarah grabs Tom's hand. Back slightly bent, an elderly man limps forward. Dressed in a black robe with a purple sash around his waist, Archbishop Alexander has a peaceful manner, old but wise.
Good evening, sir. I'm Sarah, and this is Tom.
Please, call me Alexander. What can I do for you?
Alexander, we've come to ask you about the Britfields.
Alexander looks around the interior, then motions them down the center aisle.
We need to be careful. Let's sit and speak quietly.
The 3 of them sit on the front wooden pews.
What makes you believe I can help?
Dr. Beagleswick recommended that we find you.
Yes, a fine professor. What exactly did Dr. Beagleswick tell you?
Everything, except for where they are.
Why does this concern either of you?
I may be their son.
Shocked by the revelation, Alexander stares at Tom.
Tell me how you've come to know this.
I believe I was kidnapped as an infant and left in an orphanage, finally ending up at Weatherly. One of the owners said my parents might be alive, and mentioned the name Britfield. After escaping from that horrible place, Sarah and I met Professor Hainsworth at Oxford, who helped us get to London, where we met Dr. Beagleswick.
I'm sorry. You've endured so much. Your story is compelling. You have the Britfield eyes, their fortitude, but I'm no expert. Only they would know.
Then it's true. You knew them.
Yes, I knew the Lost Britfields. Magnificent people. I was present 10 years ago when their child was taken.
What if Tom is their son?
Well, then it would be an extraordinary miracle and an answer to prayers.
We need to find them.
It's much too dangerous.
We're aware of the risks, but it's worth it to try to find my parents, if they are my parents.
You have a good heart and fortitude, but I won't be responsible for jeopardizing your lives, especially at your age.
We may be young, but we understand the importance of family. Many live a lifetime and never realize that. If my parents are alive, I'd like to find them.
Well spoken, Tom. Would you allow me some time to consider it?
We're kind of in a hurry.
I see. Then grant me a few minutes and wait here.
Okay, Alexander. We'll wait here for your decision.
They stand and the Archbishop leaves. As Tom and Sarah wait, they hear a noise echoing off the walls.
Probably just some visitors.
Sure, just some visitors, although the church is closed.
The Archbishop slowly returns and hands Tom a folded paper.
Everything you need is written on this paper. Guard it. Safely.
You have my word.
The Britfields moved to southern France. I can't emphasize enough how dangerous this is, but if there's hope to be given, I will not stand in the way.
Thank you, Alexander, for trusting us.
You can stay here tonight, and I'll arrange your passage in the morning. Wait by the entrance for Bishop Carmichael to escort you to our abbey.
Tom and Sarah hug Alexander and head to the front entrance. The outside wind rustles, the windows rattle. Tom and Sarah hear distant movement again. Tom whips around and notices a shadowy silhouette approaching.
Bishop Carmichael?
As the shadow moves closer, Tom and Sarah see Coldwell's devilish eyes peering down, a menacing grin across his face.
You have caused me nothing but trouble.
What do you want?
To finish what I started.
Reaching into his overcoat, Coldwell removes his pistol and aims it at them.
Why can't you just leave us alone?
Because the monarchy is counting on me. I must do my duty.
Suddenly, Gowerstone rushes from behind and knocks Coldwell over the head. Coldwell tumbles to the ground.
Tom, Sarah, step away from him.
Policemen burst through the front door, handcuff Coldwell, and drag him away. Alexander staggers from his office.
What's going on out here?
Please, wait there. Everything is under control.
Seeing their chance to escape, Tom grabs Sarah's hand and they run toward a back entrance. However, Speckle appears at the doorway and grabs Tom and Sarah.
Where do you think you're going?
A policeman marches over and guards Tom and Sarah while Speckle talks with Gowerstone.
Speckle? I can't believe he works with Gowerstone.
This can't be happening. Not after everything we've gone through.
We'll figure something out. At least we're together.
What if they separate us?
Then I'll find you. Wherever you are.
Gowerstone and Speckle walk back over to Tom and Sarah.
How did you know we were here?
Dr. Hainsworth informed me this afternoon.
You didn't hurt him, did you?
Of course not. He's outside in one of the police cars. He's under my protection.
Are you sending us back to Weatherly? Back to that miserable place?
You misunderstand me, Tom. I haven't been chasing you through half of England so I can arrest you. Your life is in danger, and I want to help you.
What?
Speckle does work for me, but not in the capacity you believe. He's my best agent, assigned to investigate Weatherly. We were about to arrest Mr. and Mrs. Grieves and shut down the orphanage when you two escaped.
I'm sorry I was so hard on everyone.
You played your role extremely well.
I had to. I couldn't let the Grieveses know who I was.
So you known about Weatherly?
Yes, but it's not just Weatherly. It's a chain of orphanages from Cornwall to Edinburgh, all involved in fraudulent activities. Weatherly is at the center of it.
If you're not setting us back, why not just let us go?
Because when I read Tom's file and saw the name Britfield, his picture, his age, everything became clear to me.
I don't understand.
I was the detective in charge of finding the Britfields' lost son 10 years ago. It was the only case I failed to solve, If you are who I believe you are, then there are others who want to.
We know. Why weren't you able to finish the case?
Every time I got close to solving the kidnapping, someone sabotaged my work. After years of investigation, I was forced by my superiors to let it go. But I never did, and I never forgot. I've been searching for 10 years.
Then you think Tom is the Britfield son?
Yes, I believe he is.
And Tom might be the rightful heir to the British throne?
I'm no historian, but if it's true, Tom is in grave danger, and so are you. After speaking with Dr. Hainsworth, I realized this goes deeper than anyone can imagine. But you two gave me the hardest chase of my career from Yorkshire to Canterbury.
Right. Sorry about that. Thank you for saving us from that killer.
That's my job. You owe me nothing.
Now what?
When speaking with Dr. Beagleswick, who is also under my protection, I learned that the Prime Minister is involved, defending the crown at all costs.
What about my family?
I'll help you find them. Now please, wait here for a moment.
Garrison walks over to Alexander. They shake hands, recognizing each other from a decade earlier. As Garrison explains the situation, Alexander nods and smiles, bidding Tom and Sarah a heartfelt farewell. Shortly after, Hainsworth enters and embraces Tom and Sarah.
It's good you're both safe. I was so worried.
We didn't think we'd ever see you again.
I hope you're not upset that I told Detective Yarrowstone about Canterbury, but after speaking with him, I knew he was on our side and perhaps our best ally.
We understand, Professor. We also have the Britfield's location in France.
Garrison walks back over.
When I was detained in New Scotland Yard, I spoke with Dr. Beagleswick, who informed me that the Prime Minister is working with the royals and a secret group called the Committee.
I should have known the Prime Minister was involved. I allowed friendship to cloud my judgment. I'll have to resign.
Why? The Prime Minister is unaware, you know. Keep it that way. Use their own tactics against them and get to the bottom of this.
What about Tom and Sarah?
England is not safe for them. Tom has the location of the Britfields in France.
I can't let them leave on their own.
You won't have to. I'll go with them and protect them.
It's too dangerous. I cannot allow that.
I can safely get them to France. I have a friend in Paris who can help us. Your work remains in England.
Garrison paces a bit, thinking to himself.
I'll agree under one condition. You meet with Inspector Fontaine when you arrive in France.
Garrison removes 2 cards, then hands one to Tom and one to Hainsworth.
She works with Interpol and is extremely trustworthy. I'll have her wait for you. Do whatever she asks and contact me when you arrive. I want to know everything that happens.
Agreed, Detective.
I also need to speak with Tom and Sarah. I want to hear about their experience at Weatherly and any details that might be useful.
Garrison pulls Tom and Sarah aside with a policeman, who takes detailed notes. Tom and Sarah spent an hour telling Garrison all about their experiences at Weatherly. Their descriptions were vivid, leaving nothing out. It felt good to finally expose the Grieveses.
It's time to leave. You'll take a ferry from Dover to Calais. I'll drive you personally.
Garrison motions Tom, Sarah, and Hainsworth to a car. After arriving at the ferry terminal, everyone exits the vehicle. While Hainsworth leaves to purchase tickets, Tom and Sarah turn to Garrison and shake his hand.
Thank you for helping us.
It was a privilege, but it's not over yet. I fear it's just begun. Remember, stay with Professor Hainsworth. Always be on your guard and trust no one.
Yes, sir.
And you'll help the other orphans? I gave them my word.
Yes. Every one of them will be taken care of.
Hainsworth returns with the tickets.
The ferry is leaving from Pier 2. We have 15 minutes.
Be safe, and Godspeed.
Tom, Sarah, and Hainsworth enter a large hydrofoil. Travelers hurry on with wrapped gifts. Hainsworth sits on an outside bench. As the boat leaves the harbor, Tom and Sarah watch Garrison disappear in the mist. He gives them one final wave.
It's 12:10 in the morning.
Hainsworth stands and gives them a hug.
Merry Christmas, Tom. Merry Christmas, Sarah. May this be the first of many great ones to come.
Merry Christmas, Professor.
After a moment, Tom and Sarah walk to the back rail and watch Dover fade in the distance.
I've never left England before. I wonder what's going to happen.
Don't worry, Tom. It'll all work out.
Tom gently grabs her hand.
I'm not worried. We're together. And that's all that matters.
Shortly after Canterbury, Detective Gowerstone gathered a force of policemen and headed to Weatherly. He arrested Mr. and Mrs. Grieves, who were sentenced to 30 years in prison. Their despicable enterprise was shut down and the orphanage closed forever. After that, Gowerstone worked tirelessly to find each orphan a safe home and loving family. Patrick was adopted by a couple in France and now works at their automobile factory, test driving cars and living life to its fullest. Richie moved in with a wealthy family in Glasgow and helps run their enormous estate, along with watching over their younger children.
Bertie lives with the couple in Devon and helps design toys for their popular stores along the coast. Trevor was adopted by an American family and is enjoying his days on a sunny beach in Southern California.
Danica and Dalen moved in with an Italian couple who run a fancy bistro in Mayfair. The two girls have become renowned pastry chefs, and the restaurant is one of the hottest places in London. And Dr. Beagleswick retired to an island somewhere in the South Pacific. Exact location unknown. The rest of the orphans found warm homes and caring families.
We all stayed in touch, either by email or phone, and tried to visit each other during school holidays. Everyone was grateful to Tom and Sarah, knowing that they had helped. Although no one knew where they were, a part of them remained, for we would always be connected. We were a family, not by blood or birth, but something even stronger. We shared a special bond that nothing in the world could ever break.
The end!
Thank you for listening to Britfield and the Lost Crown, the perfect holiday gift. Anyone making a donation to We the Kids website will be automatically entered to win a signed copy of the Britfield trilogy. 3 drawings will be held December 15th. Merry Christmas from Britfield and We the Kids. Godspeed, my friends, and have a wonderful holiday.